Mic check, 1 2 1 2. This is the Portuguese mofo, Sam here. You know, I was out and about doing some stuff earlier, came back, was playing a little campaign, and then I was just thinking, there's a lot of multiplayer maps I haven't played, and I was thinking of doing a terrain analysis video series. A lot for myself, but for anyone that comes across it, it might be something that's really helpful. So armies don't matter. I wish I could select the key buildings here in custom player if I can. I guess someone let me know, that'd be cool. But yeah, I figured first a good way for me to learn some maps, and just a good way to take some analysis. So like a first look here, right? If you understand how topography works on a map, this is what we would call a saddle. Okay, you could think like a horse, like how a saddle is made on a horse. Okay, but right, you got two hilltops, okay, with some elevated ground in the middle. Either side of those hills are going to be lower elevation in the middle, although it's very slight on this, but you can see the saddle there. We don't need to watch the general speech because it doesn't matter. So, right, this is the saddle I was talking about here. Okay, so we got two high grounds. All right, the dojos, if I'm not mistaken, one is located right here, and then you have them on either side of the saddle. Okay, so which a lot of times, right, the dojos, if you have them on the map, are dictating how the battle is going or where it's going to go. Right, there's definite stronger dojos than others, right? Morale Shrine and Attack Dojo are definitely considered super strong ones. The Workshop is good. Farmhouse, kind of niche, I would say. An Archery Dojo is like an effective late battle one. And, it can be effective early on if you want that extra reload. But anyways, that's aside the point. So for the terrain, right, so that's the primary terrain feature of this map, okay, is this saddle up in here. But we also have this cloverleaf forest here. All right, cloverleafing, if anyone has ever had any sort of reconnaissance training or anything, right? Cloverleafing is a method in which you can do recon, right? But this map gives you a natural tree setup for recon, right? And what makes this effective, right? So like if you're hiding troops, anything like that right here. So not that I'm actually going to fight the battle, but if you know how to set waypoints, right, hold shift, you can move troops in the trees and hidden. So even though people would understand that a lot of times, right, especially if you're playing at a high level, people know that you're going to be hiding troops. It is a way to maneuver troops, and this map is set up pretty well to do it. And even on this side of the saddle, right, this little forest system, which is very curious anyways. Where in the world do trees grow like this? But anyways, right, so very just natural ability to move troops now, right? You need to walk them if they're running, and you need to make sure, right, they're set up right in a way where they're not getting outside of the hiding zone as you move them. And then obviously if you do that, not forget about them. I did it in a battle earlier. I think it was a Fall of Samurai battle. It wasn't on this map, but right, using the waypoints, holding shift. So yeah, right. So this map, right, for me, just right, quickly looking over, and I have played on this map quite a bit. It's better for balanced or rush builds, and not best for match locks. These are rolling hills, right? So there's a lot of spaces where you can just get a lot of shots cut off. You think you're setting up match locks on good high ground up here, but they're just set up wrong just because of how the hills roll, right? It's going to cut off line of sight sometimes, and you know, they don't do individual tactics, right? Like these two little forests up here, great spots for like daikyus and stuff like that, right? Now, great spot, you put them up here, they'll shoot down, and right, because daikyus and those, and you know, archers, anything that has arc to their shot, right, and technically can shoot into dead space, right, like behind here, dead space is space you can't see. They can technically shoot into them, but aside the point, right, like up in these areas, really good spots for bows, like daikyus, the other side too, right, get cover and concealment in the trees. Not that they're actually hiding behind the trees, you know, shooting from behind the trees, doing little individual tactics. That'd be cool, right? Little cover and move maneuvers. But yeah, so right. But matchlocks, not the best map for them. Like bring one or two, like, you know, right here, right? Not a terrible spot. And even like if you're up here in the trees, like if somehow the battle were to get over here, like these are good lines of shot, like lines of sight, and even if you get melee down in here, they'll shoot over your guys' heads. Like that's something to think about too, even with how your matchlocks shoot into your own and enemy troops. They'll be less likely to hit your guys if they have a good, right, elevation over them, right, so they can actually shoot over their heads. Now, I wouldn't recommend that in real life, but you know, in a game like this, it's actually what you do. So, anywho, now as far as these two sides, in my experience with this map, playing it a decent amount, right, so you have more of the surface area of the two hilltops over here, right? This is more to a point, right? You got a little bit more extreme slopes on this one, where this is a little bit more gradual into it. Okay, and this is where I think balanced or rush builds are better. Now, I do think being the host side, there's a little bit more advantage as far as being able to get to the highest grounds quicker. However, right, a lot of my experience with this map is the battle. Right, there's usually a heavy push on this side, and I'll kind of swing this side late, depending on the dojos, though. This is just literal, just thinking off the top of my head of battles I played on this map. Right, but usually you're looking to control one of these sides, right? And for being on that side, in my experience, most people push this side, right, because you can just get to your own higher ground quicker, and, you know, arguably, right, a little lower here, but you're just getting a better chance quicker. Where if you're going this side, right, and trying to beat this army to this side, a little harder. And, you know, you have, it's actually a little bit bigger forest, but this forest is connected over here, right? And you can get to this side by moving troops like that. So, but again, right, so for Fall of the Samurai armies, right, this actually is probably a pretty good map if you wanted to try and bring like a rush type style, a lot of melee infantry. With the Fall of the Samurai army, this would be a good map to pick if that's what you're going for, I think. And please, anybody watches this, correct me if you think any of my analysis is off, because I'm honestly, you know, I've been playing Total War for a long time, but I'm not super experienced in this, and Shogun 2 competitive, so it's part of the reason why I'm doing this series. So, but anyways, right, but as you get to the outsides of the map, right, if you wanted to go skirmish style, you would want to try and draw it out into these areas where you just have more flat ground. But even as I say that, right, like back here is pretty good, but back here is pretty good. Okay, but yeah, it's not the best map for matchlocks, guns, and even cav, although you're always going to bring cav, and they can definitely be effective on this map, right? Like, again, the cloverleaf of trees is, as I'll call it, right? The cloverleaf forest. What is this, Candyland? The cloverleaf, I can't even talk. The cloverleaf forest is just a great way to maneuver troops. And although it's like kind of clear and obvious that that can happen, right, there's still just the point of timing, right, the iterative decision-making process as you fight these battles. So, but yeah, in my eyes, balanced or brush builds, and balanced leaned more towards the melee side. If you want to go heavy skirmish, right, it's archers. But even then, right, like in my experience playing this game long enough, even still, like flatter maps are better still for archers, or if you can, or more like a valley type map, like a Boki Gorge, which we'll get there. But anyways, so yeah, right. But this is what we would call a saddle, okay? This terrain feature, and yeah, that's a little terrain analysis for you and for myself here on a key. And I figured I'll just work my way down the line as I feel like it, and continue to learn these maps. So if you watched this, you came across this, thank you, and I hope you learned something. Peace.